In the unfolding story of humanity, we are at a pivotal crossroads. On one side lies the undeniable reality. Fossil fuels have been the lifeblood of industrialization, technological breakthroughs, and economic development for centuries. On the other side lies a future threatened by the destructive consequences of continuing this reliance: devastating climate change, irreversible environmental damage, and societal inequities. The proposal to ban fossil fuels by 2030 is as bold as it is controversial. For some, it represents the urgent action required to stave off climate catastrophe, a pathway to a greener and more equitable world. For others, it signals potential economic upheaval, particularly for industries and nations deeply entwined with fossil fuel economies. What would such a ban mean in practice? How plausible is the timeline? And critically, does it promise progress or peril? Let's embark on a journey through the science, economics, ethics, and human stories behind this pressing global debate. Fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas have revolutionized human civilization. They powered the Industrial Revolution, fueled rapid urbanization, and enabled modern conveniences from cars and planes to electricity grids and global trade networks. Yet, this progress has come at a steep cost. Greenhouse gas emissions. Fossil fuel combustion accounts for over 75% of global carbon emissions, driving climate change. Air pollution. Particulate matter from fossil fuels contributes to respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, causing an estimated 8.7 million premature deaths annually. Resource depletion. Extracting fossil fuels has led to deforestation, water contamination, and the destruction of ecosystems. The science is unequivocal. To limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, a target set by the Paris Agreement, humanity must achieve net zero carbon emissions by mid-century. This requires halving emissions by 2030, making fossil fuel bans a central strategy. Without decisive action, the consequences will be dire: melting ice and rising seas. Coastal cities like Miami, Jakarta, and Lagos face submersion risks, threatening millions of lives and trillions in infrastructure. Biodiversity collapse. Coral reefs, forests, and wetlands, critical ecosystems for life, are at the brink of irreversible decline. Humanitarian crises, climate-related disasters from droughts to floods could displace 200 million people by 2050. A world without fossil fuels is not just a dream, it's a vision underpinned by tangible progress in renewable energy technologies. Solar and wind power costs for solar panels and wind turbines have plummeted by 85% and 56% respectively over the past decade. Storage solutions, innovations in battery technology, like lithium-ion advancements and grid-scale storage systems, address the intermittency of renewables. Hydrogen energy. Green hydrogen, derived from renewable electricity, offers a clean alternative for heavy industries like steel and cement. Transitioning away from fossil fuels unlocks transformative opportunities. Green jobs. Boom, the International Renewable Energy Agency, predicts that renewable energy could generate 42 million jobs by 2050. Outpacing fossil fuel employment. Energy access for all decentralized systems, like solar microgrids, can bring electricity to the 770 million people worldwide who currently live without it. Healthier communities. Eliminating air pollution from fossil fuels could prevent millions of deaths and reduce healthcare costs. The global energy system is deeply entrenched in fossil fuels. Shifting to renewables requires massive investments. The International Energy Agency estimates that achieving net zero by 2050 will cost $4 trillion annually in clean energy investments. Grid modernization. Current power grids are designed for centralized fossil fuel plants, not distributed renewable sources like rooftop solar. Energy storage. Scaling up battery production to support renewables poses challenges, including raw material extraction for lithium, cobalt, and nickel. The transition to renewable energy will not be painless. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Nigeria, heavily reliant on oil exports, face existential economic threats. Millions of workers in coal mines, oil rigs, and gas plants could lose livelihoods without adequate reskilling programs. Rapid changes in energy supply chains may lead to temporary spikes in electricity costs. Fossil fuel companies wield immense political and financial influence, often delaying or obstructing climate policies. In regions dependent on fossil fuels, proposed bans can face backlash from communities fearing job losses and economic hardship. Norway is a paradoxical leader, funding its transition to renewables through oil revenues. The country has used its wealth to achieve nearly 100% renewable electricity generation and leads the world in electric vehicle adoption. As one of the fastest-growing economies, India faces the dual challenge of meeting energy demands while reducing emissions. Investments in solar farms like the Rewa Ultra-Mega Solar Park showcase its potential to leapfrog fossil fuels. Germany's ambitious energy transition, or Energiewende, demonstrates both the promise and pitfalls of phasing out fossil fuels. While renewables now account for over 40% of its electricity, high costs and grid reliability remain challenges. Responsibility developed nations, historically the largest polluters, have a moral obligation to support developing countries in transitioning to clean energy. Equity policies must address the disproportionate impacts of climate change on vulnerable communities, from low-income families to indigenous populations. Transitioning from fossil fuels is not just a technological challenge, it's a cultural one. Public awareness campaigns, education, and grassroots movements play critical roles in building societal acceptance for renewable energy. Feasibility, with political will and coordinated action, transitioning to 70 to 80% renewables by 2030 is achievable. Economic transformation. Investing in green technologies can lead to long-term economic benefits, including resilience against volatile oil markets. Human ingenuity history shows that humanity is capable of rapid innovation, from the moon landing to the development of the internet. Economic risks. Sudden bans could destabilize global markets, particularly in developing nations dependent on fossil fuels. Technological gaps. Current renewable solutions, while promising, may not yet be scalable enough to replace fossil fuels entirely. Equity concerns. Without robust support mechanisms, marginalized communities could bear the brunt of the transition. Instead of an outright ban, a phased approach could balance urgency with feasibility. This includes gradually increasing carbon taxes to disincentivize fossil fuels, expanding subsidies for renewable energy adoption, and establishing just transition programs for workers and communities. Global problems require global solutions. Strengthening international agreements like the Paris Accord and fostering technology transfer are essential. Investing in cutting-edge technologies, from advanced nuclear reactors to carbon capture systems, can complement renewable energy solutions. The debate over banning fossil fuels by 2030 reflects the complexity of balancing environmental imperatives with economic realities. While challenges remain, the potential rewards, a cleaner planet, healthier communities, and sustainable economies are worth striving for. The journey ahead demands bold leadership, innovative thinking, and a commitment to leaving no one behind. By embracing the possibilities of a fossil-free future, we can turn the climate crisis into a catalyst for progress, proving that humanity's greatest strength lies in its ability to adapt and thrive.